All right, happy Friday. I'm Nick Baumgart from BaumHoops, and this is the maiden voyage of the Ball Talk podcast on BaumHoops.com. I'm joined by my friend, male model. He also does a really good job covering the Indiana Hoosiers beat. Mike Schumann is on the line. What's going on, Mike?
Nick, how's it going, man? Honored to be on the maiden voyage.
Yeah, yeah. Keep your feet, just stay on the carpet. Uh, No
Hands
drink,
inside at all times.
no drinks, no food here. Right, first time out. Let's just get through. A lot to talk about. I'm not on the beat anymore. Got my hands kind of tied up with these high school kids. I still got my ear is still on the ground, so to speak, in Bloomington. You're on the ground all the time, so I'm really looking forward to talking to you. I got some questions for you, Mike.
All right.
We got to get to the bottom of some things. Okay, so there's just a lot of junk on that Twitter app. You just a lot of things I've been reading lately just aren't the truth, and so we're gonna dive into them. I got a lot of questions for you. And 12-9, 7-7 in the Big Ten, which is exactly what I thought they would do. It's not like this is surprising to me. I mean, it's surprising to probably to a lot of fans because they heard that Indiana was going to have the best team that Archie Miller's ever had, which by all accounts is actually probably true. The team last year was underappreciated. Devontae Green, but they've had some bad breaks. Joey Brunk gets hurt, misses the whole season. I can see where fans are coming from, but it doesn't really feel like this is anything too weird to me. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say it's not a shock where we're at right now. I do agree that this is Archie Miller's best Indiana team, at least from just a talent and roster makeup perspective. But I don't think that necessarily was ever going to translate to some breakout, Big Ten title contender type of season. There was never that kind of writing on the wall, at least for me. I thought they might be in a little bit better spot than they are now, but it was always kind of a middle of the pack Big Ten team to me.
Yeah, and this goes back to team building, which we could do a whole podcast on team building. When you're building a team, you're not, it's not the 12 best players. You need a team, you need parts to that team because every night something different is going to be required. So you need some shooting. Not those guys may not necessarily play 30 minutes every night against but you need to be able to have those tools in the bag, so to speak. Look at Justin Irons, right, at Ohio State. Like, he's shot 46 of 48 threes this year. Two shots that were twos. One, he stepped on the line. So like when people say, "Hey, all he can do is shoot," there's a lot of value there to that. So to me, yeah, it was a better talent, but I just don't know if they have the necessary pieces in a league that is just unforgiving.
Yeah, and I'd say there's probably not too many Ohio State fans that are complaining about Justin Arns right now. I mean, think of it
No,
from that perspective.
no, to me, the piece that they're missing the most is an alpha scorer on the wing. Somebody that I think, you can just count on for 15 to 20 points a night. Al is wonderful. I've been an advocate for Al, but Al's a piece. To me, he's a piece. He's not when he's on, Indiana's great, right? Like Iowa. He's getting to the free throw line, he was hitting shots, and Indiana wins, but they just haven't been able to count on him. If they could come up with some kind of alpha dog out there in the transfer portal, I think they could be pretty good next year. What do you think is missing on this team?
I mean, I would say I understand your point. I like well enough. I like what they're getting from Armand Franklin and Al Durham that I don't think, in my opinion, that's the glaring missing piece for me. The glaring missing piece is consistency at the point guard position. I think the staff has tried really three different people as the primary ball handler this year. They've tried Rob primarily, they've tried Khristian Lander, and they've tried Al Durham. And I think all three of those guys have different strengths that if you put them all together would be a all-American point guard. I think Durham, I like the way he has an attacking mentality better than either of the other two. I think Lander's ability to create space and his vision is really good. And then Rob's the best on the ball defender. And you put all those together, and I think that's the struggle is none of them can do everything consistently. And I think that's what's missing. I think if you had a really great attacking point guard that was a good facilitator and a good defender, it would bring a lot of other things together for this team.
Can't Rob be that? I mean, I thought that's what he was there for, the first half of his freshman year. And I don't know. To me, I'm out of reasons why Rob could be in this now 2-year funk, other than the fact that it's up here. And so, I don't know if he's just not happy, or if his relationship with certain people is not good, but something's off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think he would even tell you that he's not always as confident as he needs to be. So confidence is part of it. But he just, his best game of the year, probably the best game of his career was at Iowa a few weeks ago. And he followed that up with, 3 or 4 games where you're just like, man, where did this guy go? And so it's even to the extreme, after the Butler game that everybody remembers, he hit the game winner. The next game he gets knocked out with a concussion that cost him a big chunk of his freshman season. So there's just been these really extreme highs and lows with him that some are completely out of his control, but he's never been able to get into a consistent rhythm. And now you're beyond midway through his junior season, so you just kind of have to start accepting that maybe this is just who he is. He's a little bit of an enigma.
Man, it's just tough to from where we were with him to accept that is just really tough. I mean, he was a great high school player who scored well at McCutcheon at the 4A level. We have not seen Rob Phinisee and Khristian Lander together.
Mm-hmm.
That really surprises the heck out of me. I'll tell you why, because Rob's not shooting the ball well. He's confident though in his passing. As soon as I opened my mouth the other night, right before, then he goes out and has 4 turnovers in that game. But coming into it, his last almost 300 minutes, he's been holding on to the ball. He's been setting people up, and they didn't do him any favors the other night either. Like Trayce Jackson-Davis missed a couple layups. Race missed a couple. Like, guys, like, you're killing me. Like, why not, slide Lander in at the 2? Because his problem, and people will say shooting, but he was up to 36% on threes 10 days ago. His problem is right now the game's too fast for him. Mm-hmm. It's understandable. It's how it, take the ball out of his hands, right? Take the ball out and take some of that decision making and put it in Rob's, on that. Why haven't we seen those guys together? Why do you think it is that we have not seen that pairing together?
Yeah, it's interesting. I bet if you went back and looked at the minutes, you'd find more time with neither of them on the floor than both of them on the floor together. If I had to really guess, I would say it's because neither one of them have shown the ability to be consistent shooters or scorers right now. And so you're putting two guards in your backcourt that you can't trust to make shots. I don't know that that's a good solution other than, you got 2 facilitators out there. So it's a trade-off, but I think in a team that's starting to emerge as a shooting team, I think that's a mistake to try to have them both out there. I would have argued against that a month ago, but they're proving that they're not reliable, and both of them are not confident right now. I mean, Phinisee, if you notice the air ball he shot 2 nights ago, he shot that air ball because he didn't catch the ball right. I mean, it's little things like that where it's not even catching the ball in rhythm. It was a perfect pass right in the pocket where it needed to be, and he didn't catch it. And that led to him being out of rhythm and shooting an air ball. And Lander's doing that kind of stuff too. And so you're putting 2 guys out there that are not confident and are not shooting the ball well. I think that's a mistake. Look at Armaan Franklin from the same spot on the floor in that same game. He caught a pass there shot fake, did a step back. It was all in perfect rhythm, and he absolutely drained it. Just how you want to see where the ball hits the back of the net and comes right back to him. I mean, it was
It was
science.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't see that with Rob, or if you do, it's more of a rarity.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I probably spend more time than I should, like I need to fall asleep tonight and I'm thinking, what is going on with Rob Phinisee? But it's a mystery. I mean, it really is. Never thought 2 years ago when he had outplayed Marcus Howard that night that like what happened? It's a mystery.
Well, here's a question for you. If he hadn't hit that shot against Butler, would we have all kind of ratcheted down what our expectations were of him?
Man, that Marquette night, if you remember, they won
Yeah, that's
by
another one.
21. They scored 94 points. It was his third game of the year. He outplayed Marcus Howard.
Yeah.
He was dropping passes like that we haven't seen it in Indiana. Like Yogi Ferrell wasn't throwing those kinds of driving the baseline, no look, like pocket, like no looks. I hope Indiana keeps him around, man, because he's underappreciated. The fan base is, the shiny new toys in the garage, right? Whatever in the and they want to get it out and they want to play. Like he's just not there yet. Defensively, Khristian's just not there yet, and I think people underappreciate the defensive end. He's learning and stuff, and I just don't think that Rob's role. Everybody's always has something negative to say, right? I posted that the other tweet, 34 assists to 10 turnovers in the last 283 minutes. How many minutes did he spend dribbling the ball? Or you'll get, he can't shoot, or you just never hear anything good about him. And it kind of irks me because I still think that he's such an important part. I mean, when Rob's good, Indiana's good.
Here's a question for you, Nick. As a point guard, I have a lot of people in my ear saying, is Archie's insistence on keeping turnovers down getting into these guys' head? Like, does it cause a point guard to be passive because he doesn't want to make a mistake?
No, there's two things you cannot do in basketball, and especially at a high level. You cannot foul, and you cannot turn the ball over. I mean, I think it's amazing that Indiana won by 10 because they had 9 more turnovers to a Big Ten game. You say, all right, well, hey, the other team's going to get 8 more possessions than you tonight. Okay. So you're good with that? Like, no, they would throw a fit. Like,
Right.
no, like don't turn the ball over, like it's like playing off 2 feet. And my boy Trey Galloway's the worst. He jump passes and you can get by with it in high school. At this level, that much more, a guy who's that much faster. Like there's no way. The dudes you jump in the air and you're essentially saying, all right, I have 0.7 seconds to decide now.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Like just don't dribble into, there's 3 guys standing there. Where are you going? Post entry passes. It was a big thing that Jim Cruz was about, like post entry passes below the free throw line. And, I never really thought about it until I got into coaching. I'm like, it's genius. I'm the all-time leader in fouls in Evansville North High School history. Nobody will ever touch it. You can't do that. You cannot foul. You cannot turn it over. And people would say to us, you probably remember, well, you make enough things happen that you're going to have some turnovers. I get it. We always try to look for, a reason or, some understanding. No, not with turnovers, and you just silly. You would probably agree. Just silly like. So the turnovers that I see are like really correctable stuff. It's not like, oh, I'm over my head kind of thing, except sometimes with Khristian.
Right.
I mean, he's supposed to be a senior. I'm not dogging him at all. Like, I'm really proud of him because he could have hung it up there in the middle of the season. I mean, he was playing bad, awful, and he wouldn't get any playing time. And people were, I saw the stuff on terrible Twitter, on Instagram, right? Like, I'm really proud of him for hanging in there and battling. And, like I told his dad all along, I said, this is not going to be easy, and I don't think people believe me, and that's okay. It's not going to be, he just needs to get through it. He needs to be happy. Right. He needs to be, learning something every day and he needs to be a better worker when he, season's over. And so I said, don't look at the numbers. And, we talked the other day, he said, I'm not even paying attention to the numbers.
You had a pretty good read on how his freshman season would go. I mean, what are your current thoughts on his long-term prognosis in college?
It's like, okay, so I kind of compare it to like my first year teaching, and anybody who was a teacher or, people just get through it. Just get through it, regroup, and look at Armand.
Yep.
Armand didn't know what he couldn't do well. He thought he was a good shooter, and it's a different level, man. It's a different level when you have these guys. Like, people probably underappreciate the athleticism of high major athletes. Like, they make it look so easy, but when you get out there and you start shooting against it, it's like, where did he come from? Like,
right.
So Khristian gets to the end of it, regroups. He needs to get with somebody because he needs a lot of skill work. I mean, honestly, his skill level has not changed a whole lot in the last, 18 months or so. He needs to add some things. He needs to be able to create on his own. He's going to be a great passer. The shooting is a product of just a crazy environment, right, for him. And he's trying to figure it out. And when he's comfortable, he's a good shooter. He does this thing where he shoots and pulls his hand back, which is, to me, when I'm teaching shooting, is a no-no. Like, white men can't jump. Like, that's pretty. That's
right.
So pretty. Like,
right.
Hold it. Like, hold that follow through. There's little things, I feel like he's really rushing it. So he just needs to get in the gym and he needs reps. And
would you overhaul his mechanics or just tweak him? Because I have a lot of people again in my ear saying, man, he looks like he's shot putting. He's not shooting a basketball. But my counter to that is, look at guys like Jordy Holes or Christian Watford. I mean, I'm of the belief that if you can make shots with bad mechanics, go with it. I mean, and historically, he wasn't a bad high school shooter. What was he, mid to high school?
Yeah, 36, 37%. So like,
to me, that just informs me that it's mental, and to your point, it's sped up.
Yeah, these Big Ten arenas, like shooting in those, especially when there's not any people in them now, like that's weird. It's very cavernous. When you have people, it looks like there's a background. You used to be in those little gyms, and everything just feels comfortable. The goal feels closer, and when it looks a little further back. With Khristian, there's the one thing, he's a lefty, so it's really tough to mess with lefties. I mean, I'm a righty, and lefties are just funny. Like, they're just kind of goofy shooters sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, and so I would, work with him on his form shooting right in front of the rim, to where he's boom, just nice and just nice and comfortable. An easy, repeatable shot, something that he feels like he can go out and do 300 times in a row. And, he doesn't need to jump super high, just a nice little, be shifty and have a quick little release. And I think he's going to be fine, but, catch and shoot, playmaker, going to figure it out, but it takes a little bit of time. I get it.
I think he should find whoever Anthony Leal worked with during the offseason, because he's a guy, his shot mechanics coming out of a senior year of high school, I thought that's not going to translate. That there was a hitch in it. It was slow, and he's got a great fluid, fast rhythm now. It's he's doing great. He's doing better than I thought he would do in terms of shooting as a freshman.
I can't remember his name. He's a Bloomington guy, so but yeah, it's nothing too major, but that's really pronounced. The other thing with his shot is when someone comes from his left, so his shot side, he kind of turns his kind of waist kind of away from. I don't know if it's a habit or what, but I just notice his body turns a lot more when somebody comes this way. He's fine. But when they come this way, it's on that left side. It bothers him.
I'm used to guys being in his space. He's used to having all the space he needs because he can make it.
But with him, he needs to find a bunch of experiences this summer that are uncomfortable. Keep pushing yourself. You push yourself through a reclassification year that was tough, but to take that next step, he's not on the scouting report right now. He's not. maybe now that he's playing 14, 15 minutes, but when he was playing 3 or 4, I mean, he was a line with the height on like change if you play more. So, that's something that he's going to have to handle. And I don't know if it's going to be next year. Yeah, it'll be better, but it would still be his freshman year.
Right.
And he missed out on a lot of playing experience, quite frankly, just, minutes being out there running a team and stuff like that. So, and I've always had questions. I've never been quiet about I don't know if he's a point guard. I mean, I think he's a great playmaker. So we'll see. We'll see. There's a difference between running a team and throwing a bunch of nice passes off of a 2-man game. I mean, he can do that. It's not.
Right.
That's not. But there's a whole nother skill set to being, that lead first point guard. We'll segue that into Avery Brown. What's going on with Avery Brown? He's a 2022 kid. He just got a crystal ball. How about that? My favorite, the lean on the crystal ball. The guy who made the call is 37 for 37 all time. So
24/7 Sports is having an internal push this week to make crystal ball picks. So I think you can tell it's more of a gimmick than anything. It's like, hey, we need traffic, we need content. But
it's a hype machine.
Yeah, and second of all, 37 out of 37 could very well mean that he changes his pick on the day that a guy is committing. So both of those facts are throwaway at this point.
100%. That's the biggest thing that irks me about that crystal ball. Okay, if you make your crystal ball pick, like, yeah, okay, you can change it. Things happen. You can change it a day before. You can't change it 6 minutes before, and everybody on Twitter knows it already. And do we look that stupid? I don't know, maybe.
And I'll continue on my
well, it's only a 5. It's only a 5 confidence.
My rant is, it used to be that it wasn't cool to ruin a kid's announcement by leaking it out into the media. But in effect, that's what these guys have done, because now you see a wave of crystal ball picks, the day before a kid announces, oh, I guess we didn't ruin his announcement, but we kind of did.
Like, you didn't have your day. I mean, obviously these guys, they didn't have their day. So where do we think we're at with Avery Brown? He's a nice little point guard. He's shifty. Does Indiana have a chance?
Yeah, I mean, every report I've seen, he will name them as, one of the schools that is prioritizing him. But, every 2022 right now, I take what they say with a grain of salt, because, they haven't had any sort of traditional AAU season. And so they haven't had nearly as many eyes on them as they would have normally by now. So, Avery Brown could play AAU this spring and summer, completely blow up, and his recruitment could change night and day. So, I think IU's way out in front on this one, but, there's a long way to go.
All right. So along the same lines, another crystal ball pick came in for Alex Carabin, Indiana.
Yeah, same deal. Same deal. He's nowhere near committing. I talked to him this week. He's not going to decide until the fall, before his senior year of high school. So, and he doesn't know where he's going. Same deal. Hasn't been seen at all. Really just started playing basketball again for the first time in a year. So that's just a complete guess there.
And I think that's probably my biggest beef. Probably the reason why we're here is because my sources are pretty good. They know what's going on. And so I'll know the truth about, let's take Trey Kaufman, for example. He was never, Mike, ever coming to Indiana. Like, who led Indiana that far off the path? I don't know. But it does. It kind of feels like sometimes you're the only guy out there telling the people that, the truth. And then everybody turns against you and says, you're negative. You're no, the last guy was telling you a fairy tale. Right. Yeah. And, I don't know, dude. I just, that's never been my thing. I want to know the truth. Like, I don't find comfort in burying my head in the sand. And so
Yeah, you
everything's,
let the record show you were way out in front on Trey Kaufman. I think it was in April. You said he's not going to IU, and that was even going against, I think Caleb First had already committed to Purdue. So
yeah.
it was kind of easy to say, okay, well, Kaufman will probably go to IU, because everybody at the time was saying, well, those two won't play together.
And yeah, I still don't understand how that's going to work at Purdue. That makes absolutely zero sense. And then add in Foster Lawyer, and it's like, does Purdue know something that like, are they going to like start playing 8 guys now in the Big Ten? Like, the thing about it was very clear cut. Years ago, Matt Painter recruited Matt Wren, who is Trey Kaufman's uncle. Went to Indiana State and was first team all Indian, all NVC. The best player to ever come out of Silver Creek is Matt Wren. It's not Trey Kaufman. Sorry, Trey. Like, your uncle was unbelievably good. 6'6" motor, just a little small. If he was 6'8", he would have played high major. There was only 2 guys that he was ever comfortable. It was no knock on Archie. Just he had 20-year relationships with Tony Bennett and Matt Painter. Like, he was telling people, wasn't being shy about it. I had lots of people, and people say, "Oh, it's this guy." No, I had several people tell me, like Matt Wren's like, he's only comfortable really with, he loves Painter. Painter's his guy, and not helping Matt Wren but kind of taking a shot at Indiana too. I mean, it's a little bit of a Cold War going on right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
and hey, take a shot at, like, if he doesn't work out, I'll help you find some place. He was never going there, and so it was frustrating to see continually beating down that path, knowing that Trey Patterson gave you his first official visit for a reason. Now, it didn't end up, and people can easily say, it's very easy for him to say, well, he was always going to Villanova. And I don't think that's true. I think Indiana had a shot there for a second, but when you look at it, you're at New Jersey, and the school that's recruiting you is all in on this hometown, like same size, same position. Like,
Right.
no, I'm good. Like, I'll just go to Villanova. Like, any interest you had is kind of turned off. If they could have somehow reallocated, if they somehow could have called me earlier, and I could have. Here's a tough question, Mike. You're a smart guy. Were you a CPA for like 20 years?
Yep, you got it.
See, flash it. All right. Year 4 of the Archie Miller era. Give me a grade on the culture of the program from what you see.
I'd say the culture is okay. I mean, it's probably compatible with what you're seeing on the court. It's good. It's not great.
It could be better. That's
right. Yeah. I mean,
I think
it's certainly not elite.
I think, and everybody for a long time said, well, Archie has to get his own guys in there. Got his own guys, and it's been largely the same. There's places you can find improvements. Yes, I'm a big numbers guy. If you really want to like break down the numbers, yeah, they're up, but I don't know if that necessarily tells you the accurate story. When I was on the beat last year, that should have been a fun team. Mm-hmm. That should have been a really fun environment. And I don't know how many times I left feeling like I had a weight lifted off my shoulders. Just, you know what I mean? Like, those press conferences were brutal at times. They were kicking games, losing games, and it looked like they were, so, it's a little bit of armchairing here because we're not inside the program, and no player has told me this, I hear things, grapevine rumor kind of stuff. I think the culture was better. I think you would see a little better product on the floor. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think culture's probably not up high in terms of what I'm concerned about overall with the program right now. I think overall talent level, when you think about getting to the next level and being a top 15, top 10 type team. I don't think that they have the talent to do that right now. And just the overall scheme and, what they're doing on the floor schematically, on both ends of the court. Those concern me much more than culture. I mean, you hear things culturally, but I think if you spend enough time around any program, you'd hear odds and ends. So that stuff doesn't really bother me. You're not seeing, a wave of guys leave every year or anything like that. So I'm more concerned about the product on the court, and specifically, my theory with college basketball right now is that, compared to when you played, there really weren't that many good players. Whereas today, with AAU, with guys, being year-round basketball players from the time they're 8 years old, there are a lot of good players, and therefore there's not a lot of difference between an Indiana and a Northwestern, even if Indiana is on paper recruiting better. I just, so that's where I think it gets down to, if your scheme's not, just dead on right, that talent gap is not big enough to make up for it.
All right, so you just took a shot at my generation, my people's.
What I was trying to say is you
I'll
really
have you
ain't that
know.
good.
I'll have you know. Okay, I will have you know. My class had a prospect in going to the SEC, going to the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the Big East, and what's the other one? The ACC. We had the National Freshman Player of the Year was in the 99 class, Mr. Jason Gardner. We had the two-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Kenny Lowe, in that class. We also had Eugene Wilson at Maryville, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots.
But you can do that with every class back to the beginning of time. I'm talking about the depth of the class. Most of these guys, your age and older, played 3 sports. They didn't
I'm
have
with
any.
you. I get it. Shooting guns have changed everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we chased the balls down. Like, that was the hardest part. Like, I'm going home I'm not tired of shooting. My legs are going to fall off. Like, I've been running for, these kids just don't understand. I agree. I get it.
I mean, you look at Ohio State, like they don't have any more talent than Indiana. There's no way you could convince me of that. They have a better scheme, a better culture. They just put it all together better, and there's more buy-in.
Yes, no, I agree with that. I agree. There's something there, though. Like, it would be interesting to get into it, but there's some kind of. I mean, look at Zed Key. Look how confident he was. Look how Michi Johnson comes in. Dude, the kid was like at a sleepover last week, and he like walks in and just starts hitting threes. Like, something going on there where there's an energy. There's everybody's, I don't know if it's leadership, CJ Walker.
Holtman's doing a better job of taking whatever he's got, making it all work, and from an X and an O standpoint, out scheming whoever he's going up against. I mean, he's done it from the jump. His first year was the same year as Archie's first year, and he was the Big Ten Coach of the Year. I mean, and he didn't have that much more talent. He had one good player at the top in Bates Diop, but that wasn't a very good team either.
Hey, Juwan Morgan was really, really, really good, huh? I mean, do you think Indiana fans ever appreciated him fully?
No, the jump he made, because nobody expected him to be as good as he was as an upperclassman.
Every year, every single year, he got better and across the board. I mean, if you go back and look at it's a kind of a fun exercise for anybody who is looking for like a stats project. Look at Juwan Morgan's development. Not been hardly any players, maybe nobody like Juwan Morgan, just in as far as continual improvement. Most guys take a step back, at least in one category. Where does Trayce Jackson-Davis get drafted in 2021?
That's a great question. I'll admit I'm not an NBA guy, so I don't know exactly what makes players work and not work in the NBA. I mean, what I see is a guy that, clearly doesn't have a perimeter shot right now, is clearly elite as a, kind of a pogo stick athlete. I think in a better spaced out system, which he'll have in the NBA, he's underrated off the dribble. So I think he can do some of that. He's a good rebounder, but probably nothing special in the NBA. I have a hard time seeing him going any earlier than mid-second round right now. And it just, I know everything's about, well, you can develop in the NBA, you can develop in the G League. I feel like if he can ever develop a right hand, if he can ever develop a perimeter shot, I think he could make himself a lottery pick. And while he's got to make his own decision, I think it's his particular case screams for another year of college, not because I, want it to be the right answer for IU, but because I think, somebody would have to show me the math as to, okay, if you're a lottery pick from the jump versus a mid-second round guy who kind of bounces around but never really develops, which one is better financially? That's what, if I was him, that's what I'd be looking at.
What he needs to look at is how can I stick?
Yeah.
Not you want to go and stick. You don't want to, because you kind of have one shot, a reputation, and once you get a reputation for being a two-way guy or whatever, with Trayce, the NBA is not the same NBA that Dale Davis was right. Had it been, then it's a different story, but it's not a back to the basket league anymore. And so at 6'9", 6'9" center, who has really, one shoulder, one hand, one shoulder. Even when he's going back over his left shoulder, he's going back with his left hand.
Right.
He's not making NBA shots. You saw that the other night with Robbins, Liam Robbins, right? 7-1 was really bothering his shot, and that's Liam Robbins. Like he's
right.
So, to me, the best thing, I'll wrap this up here with this. To me, the best thing that Trayce Jackson-Davis can sell at this point is a winner. Like he's going to come on. You need him on your team to be your second rotation. A rock that can kind of go both ways. Start a little bit, but he's a versatile guy who obviously can't shoot, but you could get by stealing some minutes at the 4 with him or whatever, just because he works so hard. Talk about Khristian Lander having some mechanical issues. Trayce is bad.
Right.
That I have to look the other way when I see it. I think he's IU's biggest recruit. He comes back. If I'm the staff, I'm telling him, I'm saying, hey, come back, take us to the Final Four, and you'll get drafted. Guaranteed. That's your easiest bet. We'll find you some shooting on the perimeter, but I've got to have you here to be able to get them here. Like,
right.
That's my approach. All right. Well, I really do appreciate it, Mike. We need to do this more often. Ball talk. It's a maiden voyage. Bring it back in. We'll let you go. I appreciate you taking time out today, buddy. One last question. What happens tomorrow? Michigan State visits. It's kind of a must-win. It is a must-win. Will Archie Miller continue his dominance over Tom Izzo?
So funny to say that, but it is true. I don't know. I expect another, crazy last minute, double overtime, whatever. That's what I expect. I think you'd be insane to expect anything different at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They're what? How many losses they have? 9 losses, and 5 or 6 of them are by 5 points or less. Like,
right.
Strange team we got here. So we'll have plenty more to talk about. Appreciate you, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Make sure you check him out. Check him out on Twitter.
Daily_Hoosier.
All right, Google it. All right, see you, Mike. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
It was Mike Schumann with the Daily Hoosier. I'll be back on Ball Talk. I'm Nick Baumgart from BaumHoops.com.